Good afternoon, High Point University family. I'm here with two of our extraordinary pastry chefs and bakers on campus. We have Mr. Tim Judd from The Cap and Mrs. Karen Darden that works in our commissary kitchen and bake shop in Wannock. And today we're going to bring you a nice, awesome sweet treat, a multi-use dough. We're looking towards the holidays and the cookie swaps and things of that nature. So we thought this would be a good idea to go ahead and get a cookie favorite out there that they enjoy producing and that would be an easy thing to wrap up with the family, getting them involved with this, these types of activities, especially during the holiday season. So we thought that it would be a great treat and having them come on and demonstrate their day-to-day, obviously, with what they do and the specialties that they provide here for our guests on campus. We're coming to you from Cappy Residence Hall, as always. Beautiful kitchen here. It's always a pleasure to be here and work in this space. And as the school year is wound down, we're starting to see students, migrating back home for the holiday season. We want to wish them well and safe travels. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to these two awesome people that are experts in their trade that we rely on a day-to-day basis, have done some phenomenal work over the years they've been here, and promoting everything we provide from a harvest table standpoint and an excellent guest experience when it comes to baked goods and pastries and things of that nature on campus. So guys, you want to get started? I'm going to jet off to the side.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon.
So today we are going to present to you one of my favorite recipes. It's a shortbread cookie dough. It is a staple in my kitchen and in my refrigerator at home and here at work.
Karen, talking about this shortbread, this is a very versatile dough, is it not?
I would say this is probably the most versatile cookie dough recipe that I use. And again, it's a staple in my refrigerator. At any point in the year, if you look in my refrigerator at home, Tim, you will find this cookie dough.
Great, wonderful.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And so it's really, really basic. There are only, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients to this recipe, and we're going to show you 3 different ways to use this recipe today. One of them being a fruit tart using seasonal fruit, and which means we're going to start with our fruit because we have to cook it and it takes the longest amount of time. So as you see in front of us, we have some seasonal fruit, including what kind of pears are these, Tim?
I think we have a Bartlett pear and we have a red Anjou pear, I believe. The red Anjou is a very nice pear. It really is, and this is, I think, the Bartlett.
So we're going to use poached pears in the tart recipe today, and which means we need to poach our pears first. Let me put on some gloves.
Now, Karen, when you're talking about poaching pears, exactly what type of liquid can you use to poach pears? I have heard of poached pears before, and I've even used wine.
Wine. So you don't have to use wine to poach pears. The poaching liquid is really, really simple. You just want a little bit of sugar, some water. You can use wine. A lot of people use red wine and it brings out a really nice, rich, deep color in the pear, but you don't have to. So you start with some water. And I've already peeled our pears, so we've got peeled pears. We're going to add some sugar.
But how much sugar did you use, Karen?
Well, it just depends on how many pears you have and how much, how sweet you want it. So you want to fill your pot just to cover the top of your pears. And then so with these, we're going to use probably about 5 or 6 cups of water, and we're going to use about a cup of sugar.
Great.
And to that, we're going to add some sliced oranges, some cinnamon sticks, as well as some whole cloves.
That sounds perfect for the type of season because we're in fall now. It's getting cold. And
it's really good.
It sounds good.
And if you're like me and you really just want to skip doing a whole lot of steps, if you use maybe some mulled cider, it's already sweetened, it's already spiced. If you just use mulled cider, you don't even have to worry about buying cinnamon sticks and cloves and oranges and all that. Mulled cider will do the trick as well.
Great, wonderful.
So we want to put this on the stove, and we're going to bring it up to a slow simmer, and we're going to simmer it for about 45 minutes until the pears are just tender. So while that's simmering, we're going to move on to the actual tart dough. Or not tart dough, but the actual shortbread cookie dough. So you do not always need to have special equipment in your kitchen. This is supposed to be easy, it's supposed to be fun, to get the kids involved, to get your younger siblings involved. So Tim's gonna use the KitchenAid mixer to do it, and I'm just gonna mix it by hand with a bowl and a spatula. So it's a really, really simple recipe. Any shortbread cookie dough starts with butter. And that's what makes it short, is the amount of butter in it. That's what short means. So we're gonna start with butter, and this is room temperature.
Now, Karen, how much butter are we using? It looks like to be about, what, 13, 14 ounces of
Yeah,
butter?
it's almost a pound. So it's
Okay.
13.5 ounces, and that's almost a pound. So when you buy it in the store, it'll be almost a pound. And it's at room temperature. I just kind of leave, I know I'm doing some baking, I just kind of leave the butter on the counter at night and let it soften up to room temperature.
That's what I do at home too. I also leave my butter out at night so that it will be room temperature. I like all of my ingredients actually to be room temperature if I'm using anything with eggs or butter, because it just makes things, the volume is better, and it just bakes better.
My mother always does that. In fact, if my mother decides that she's gonna do some baking and it's not room temperature, she'll put the eggs in warm water.
Right. Now, Karen, I understand we're using confectioner's sugar. Is it possible that you could use granulated sugar as well?
Some shortbread cookie recipes call for granulated sugar. I personally do not like to use granulated sugar in my shortbread cookie recipe because it increases the spread of the cookie. Have you ever seen a cookie where you put it in a mound on the cookie sheet and then it just spreads out?
Exactly, yeah.
Granulated sugar is one of the things that causes that.
Right.
So we don't want our cookie to spread like that. We want it to stay nice and taut, nice and firm. So
Okay.
it's gonna get a little loud for just a second. He's gonna turn
Yeah,
the
I
mixer
gotta turn
on,
the mixer on.
and I'm gonna like get my muscles going, mixing this powdered sugar and butter.
Karen, I think we should race, and I'm just kidding.
You win.
So basically what I'm doing is just barely getting the butter and the sugar incorporated.
And I'm kind of mushing. I don't know if you can see this.
Almost like creaming
Yes.
almost like creaming the butter and sugar together. And mine is coming together very quickly, so I'm going to slow my mixer.
Here, you won. Because mine is definitely
We're
not mixed.
racing. And then I'm going to add some vanilla. Now with this, you can also add vanilla. You can also add almond. You could add some
Peppermint extract.
peppermint or
You
lemon
can
zest.
spice it.
Very versatile dough this is, and it lends itself well, especially to the holiday season, because the kids will have fun making cookies, and whatever flavors that they like, they can add to it as well.
Now look, he didn't beat me by much because I'm done.
She
And
is
that was
done.
mixed by hand in a bowl with a spoon.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna add my vanilla. He's still gonna win, but I'm trying. I'm getting there. So he's got me by a little bit, but not by
Only
much.
by much, and we're really not racing. I was just playing with her. So,
No, we're racing. Sir.
so I'm already
We're racing.
adding my flour. Now, Karen, this is also a dough that, with allergy sensitivities, blends itself well.
This,
correct?
when I tell you how versatile this dough is, like King Arthur makes something called 1 for 1. That's a gluten-free, all-purpose flour. So if you have a gluten intolerance, you can use the King Arthur 1 for 1. You can use rice flour. You can use a nut meal like almond flour or like hazelnut flour or something that it'll also add a richness to this dough. But you can do that. Oh, let's rewind back to butter because I forgot.
Exactly.
If you don't want to use butter, if you need it to be dairy free, you can use a vegetarian margarine or a soy spread, anything like that. So you can substitute almost any ingredient for something that suits what it is that you need. Tim.
That's
You
when,
you distracted me.
oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's trying to win. I think he's trying to win.
But that's one thing that I like about this dough is the fact of the versatility. And if you do have people with food sensitivity, they can still have fun. They can still have fun with this dough, as well as everybody can get in the kitchen together and still work together and put out a nice cookie or tart in which we're making. So, he may beat me.
No, because you distracted me. So you're gonna win. And see, what I'm trying to do is not make a mess. I'm good for making a mess. But really,
So my dough is coming together, and you just want to mix it until it comes together because it's a quick dough. And I think, well, I'm going to mix it a few more minutes, or she's got to come over and check, big sister. Yeah.
because he's beating me and I don't want him to beat me.
Karen, well, we're mixing. So what have you been doing around campus? I mean, I'm across the street. I'm baking breads and things, so what are you doing?
Listen, I have been really, really busy this last semester making cookie cakes and birthday cakes for our students here at High Point University.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Their parents just love them and adore them and have been really wanting to treat them to different things. And so we have been making, again, cookie cakes, cupcakes, red velvet cupcakes, carrot cake cupcakes. We've even had some edible arrangements, lots of different things for our students to celebrate the special moments in their lives, their birthdays, or whether they're just sick or mom and dad miss them. So that's kind of what we've been doing. I hear you have been really getting into some bread production over there, Kath.
I am rolling in the dough. We have been doing a lot of, I've been doing a lot of bread pop-ups, and what that means is that, you know, maybe once a month I'll do breads, and these are all scratch-made breads. Some of them are sourdough. I've got my own sourdough starter over there. I've already named it, and we feed it, and it's a living thing, and
What
we
are
make
you
some good
feeding
bread.
it?
I feed
What
it
do you
flour,
feed it?
which it's always hungry, but I make things like roasted garlic bread.
Ooh, Tim, like for real? That
For
sounds
real.
good. For real.
For this particular season, I'm making a sage and red onion bread. It's absolutely wonderful. Think about that with a cold turkey sandwich at the end of the turkey.
Are you gonna
day.
make extra for me? Now look, wait, while we're talking about bread and kneading, I quit with the spatula, so I quit. And this is an opportunity for you to get your younger siblings, or, you know, if you're just tired of spatula too, just get in here, because that's what I'm getting ready to do, because I'm done with the spatula.
She's
and
done.
he already beat me in this.
I've already beat me, and my
So-
dough has come together.
But yeah, that sage bread sounds like
The sage bread is
super
wonderful,
good.
actually.
What's been your favorite to do on campus?
My favorite to do on campus, believe it or not, I make bread for one of the other locations on campus, the Butterfly Cafe, and I make a wonderful herb focaccia. And I think they serve that with their mushroom sandwich, I believe. And that's very popular from what I hear. And so I make that, and but I enjoy making bread. Bread is absolutely therapeutic. Bread is absolutely therapeutic to work with. And it's, I don't know, there's something, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh dear God, Karen, you know what I forgot?
What'd you forget?
Oh my goodness. I
Well,
forgot to
see,
add salt to my
Guess
bread.
what? It's okay. Just throw it in and mix
Exactly.
it up.
This is one of the reasons why, once again, this bread is so versatile, this dough is so versatile. It's because, and it's actually also very forgiving.
Now y'all see this? He's already rolling and I'm just now finishing, but it's okay because it's done and it looks the same and it's gonna taste just as good as his is.
As a kid, if you've ever played in mud, this right here.
Mud, really, Tim?
Well, what I mean is, it's fun. It's Play-Doh. I should say Play-Doh. okay?
Play-Doh's a whole lot better than mud. Don't forget that your pears are in the back kind of simmering away, and again, you don't really need to watch them, you don't really need to nurse them, but they are back there kind of simmering away, and you don't want to forget. We're gonna roll out, Tim is gonna go ahead and roll out the cookie dough for a roll rolled cookies.
Oh, okay. So I'm taking half my dough.
And I'm gonna watch because he's really good with his hands and he works with a rolling pin way more than I do. So I'm just gonna watch him work for a little bit.
This is pretty much what I do for my breads. I kind of pat it out a little bit. Like I said, bread is, there's something therapeutic about bread. I really can't, I know we're talking about shortbread cookies, but baking in general is absolutely fun. So we're just gonna roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch.
And look, the tip for me to help with cleanup, to help with moving things is I always roll on parchment paper. Even at home, in the kitchen here, I roll on parchment paper. 1, it reduces the mess. 2, it reduces the cleanup. 3, it keeps it from sticking to the table. You don't need flour, it's on the paper and you don't really need anything else. And then this dough is so rich in butter. You notice that rolling pin is not sticking at all.
What Karen was showing me was the easiest way, of course, to know that my dough is smooth, is that you can run your hands across the dough and you can actually feel if there's any mounds or valleys in your dough, for it to be uneven or maybe you've added too much pressure on the rolling pin and you kind of went too deep or not deep enough or not heavy enough in your dough.
And guess what? If you did, you just pinch some of this right off the side and you put it where the valley is and push it down and it's okay.
Once again, very versatile dough, very forgiving. So I think we're about now at 1/4 of an inch and we want to put this dough, I'm going to put it in the refrigerator to chill for 2 minutes.
About 20 minutes before we punch the shapes out.
Exactly.
That way, when you punch the shapes out, it'll hold its shape. So we're gonna put this in the fridge, as you said, to chill. So he's gonna put it in the fridge and we're gonna let that chill. A lot of what baking is all about timing. And sometimes you just have to time things just perfectly. So we're gonna be able to do all of these things in succession because we figured out our timing. So while that is chilling in the fridge, we're gonna do our next version of the cookie dough. So we're gonna make a marbled shortbread using the other piece of Tim's dough.
All right, so that was half of my dough that I've rolled out just for the pressed cookies. We're gonna take this dough and we're gonna color it.
Can I have half your dough, please, sir?
You again have half my dough. Now with this dough, you can color it any color you want.
You take the green because my favorite color is pink and I want to do it red, which is close to pink. So Tim is going to color his all the way green and I'm going to color mine all the way red. And then we're going to use a little bit of lime and take our 3 colors and put them together like Play-Doh and make it marble. It's going to kind of look camouflagey, kind of marbly. This is something really where you get the kids involved because they can pick their favorite colors, they get to mush it and play with it. So Tim, you have got your green, and so this is what we're gonna do. Put your green down and mush it flat. Now I'm gonna take some of the plain dough. Tim's got his bowl, but I got mine over here and we're just gonna use some of mine too. Tim, that's too flat.
Oh, I'm sorry. She said flat.
I did say flat, but like, that's flat.
You guys see how this dough is not sticking? That's because it has got lots and lots of good butter.
It's really rich. And so we're gonna lay some of the white on there, and then this pinkish color. We're gonna lay that on top like that. So flat like this. Now what I like to do after this is, you don't need a knife or anything, you just break it. And you see how it's still striped like that, Tim?
Mm-hmm.
And stab it like that, just like that. And then I break it again. And notice I'm not applying pressure, I'm not mixing it, I'm not squishing it. I'm just doing like that and pressing it just a little bit to keep it together. And you see how it's still maintaining the stripes?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it one more time. Except this time, instead of doing it like this, I'm gonna turn it and mush it like that. And then press it. And it's still maintaining the shape. I'm gonna do it one more time, and I'm gonna turn it to the side and mush it like this. This is what is gonna become our marble icebox cookie. And what an icebox cookie is a cookie that you can put in the fridge. You know those Pillsbury tubes of cookie dough?
Yes.
Where you just like squeeze it out too, you like slice it off. This is like the homemade version of that.
And you can actually eat this if there's no raw egg. So, there you go.
Now, if you really wanted to eat it, like for real, because you know there's salmonella in flour too. So you could toast your flour before you cook it, before you mix it, and then it's really edible cookie dough. You just toast your flour first. So we're gonna put it in a little rectangle, because doing it this way is, sometimes you can like roll it in a tube like the rolling pin, but it's hard to like make a perfect circle in the refrigerator. You have to like rotate it every time. Nobody got time for that. So we're gonna put it in a square, and we're gonna chill it for about 15 to 20 minutes. And this again is where timing comes in. So we've got several things in the works. We've got our pears cooking, we've got our rolled cookie dough in, we've got this going. I'm gonna put that on a sheet of foil and put that in the fridge. Now that we've got that chilling in the fridge, now we're gonna actually work on the tart shell, which the pears are still cooking. We're gonna work on the tart shell.
But Karen, we have to use, I used all my doughs, and do you have enough?
It's time for my dough. It's time for my dough.
Karen, I got your basic tart shell.
Okay.
Or your tart pan. And of course, with the removable bottom, so that whenever your tart's baked, then we can switch it right out.
And you can get these at Walmart, you can get these at Target, you can get these almost anywhere. And so we get to use my dough.
Now,
But I did my hand.
now, one of the other good things about this dough is that you don't have to roll it in order to put it in your tart shell, because it is so pliable, you can actually press it. And that's even probably better for me, because you can feel the thickness of it, like Karen is doing right now.
So you just take a portion of your dough, and it really just depends on the size of your tart shell. With the amount of dough that we made, it's probably gonna be between 1/3 and 1/2 of the recipe. And you're just gonna squeeze that, push it down in the bottom. You're gonna start in the middle and push it down until it's flat. You can, sometimes people use like a bottom of a cup or the
Right.
bottom of something flat and like push it down in there, but that just makes more dishes and I don't have time. So I just use my hands and push it down in the bottom, and then I push it up on the side.
Now, Karen, what makes this dough the perfect dough for tarts?
I think this is a good tart shell dough because of the short. Again, shortness just means a lot of fat, but because it's got a lot of fat in it, that means it's gonna be crisp.
Right.
It's gonna be crisp and it's gonna hold. So it's a strong dough. It's pretty versatile. And if I rewind back to us coloring the cookie dough for our marble cookies, even here, if you want to change the flavor, if you don't want to use food coloring, if you add a little bit of cocoa to this, it turns into a chocolate dough. So then you got chocolate shell.
Which is my favorite. I don't know how many chocoholics are out there, but, and see, the thing is, she didn't bring any cocoa today. Or we didn't bring any cocoa.
Because I don't like chocolate.
But
I know the pastry chef doesn't like chocolate, but I don't like chocolate.
So you see it's coming together nicely. And the reason why I was asking that question is because a lot of people might want to try to use a pie dough for tarts. And this is actually the better dough to use.
Because it'll be nice and firm and crisp.
And it'll hold whatever fillings that you want to put in. Like today we're doing the tart, and I'll be doing the fruit filling.
So for the top of the pan, you can take like the back of a butter knife or the back of a paring knife and hit the edges, but you can also just take your thumb and push it along and cut the top of it off. And if you look at the top of the shell, you can see how thick it is. So around the edge, it's about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now what we're gonna do is something called blind baking. Blind baking just means baking your shell or your crust without anything in it, or without your filling in it, not with nothing in it, but without your filling in it. And the way that you do that is use pie weights. You can buy pie weights, but again, I don't have time and we're just doing this real quick. It's something you can just have in your house or have at home ready to go. What do you like to use for pie weights?
Well, I go into my cupboard and I've always got a bag of beans that I'm never going to eat. So those beans would be perfect for the pie weight.
Dry beans, dry
Yes,
beans.
dry beans. I'm
Don't
sorry.
open a can of beans
Dry beans.
and put it in your pie shell.
Or-
That's not the rules, okay?
Today we're using brown rice. It's brown only because that's what we happen to grab. You can use any kind of rice. Anything that's heavy and dry that's going to keep your pie shell or your tart shell
Weighted down.
shape and weighted down. You don't want it tough.
And on top of that, excuse me, Tim, I'm sorry. On top of weighing down your crust so that it doesn't puff up, it creates even baking.
Right.
So I'll put some foil down in and I press it down in the shape of the crust. And then we're gonna pour the rice
And we're
in.
gonna pour the rice in. And we're gonna go all the way up to the rim. There we have it.
And we're gonna get that in the oven at 350 degrees for about 15 minutes with the pie weights in.
With our tart shell just going in the oven, how's our pears doing?
I think our pears are done, and talk about timing. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pull our pears from the stove. We're gonna pull our pears from the stove so that they stop cooking, and we're gonna place those in the fridge to cool down in the liquid, because as they cool in the liquid, they're gonna soak up the rest of that flavor. And if you choose like red wine or a mulled cider, it's gonna color it. That's gonna deepen the color of the pear. So we're gonna toss this in the fridge while our tart shell is baking. And since I'm in the fridge, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out our rolled cookie dough.
And wow, there it is.
So there is our cookie dough, all rolled out. Tim's gonna go ahead and punch our cookie shapes out.
And you can use any shape you want, any fun shapes. Like I said, this is, right now we're approaching the holidays. So if you had a candy cane or Santa Claus or anything of that nature, you could punch your cookies out. We're just gonna go with some basic shapes today. But like I said, you can do any shape that you want. First of all, we're just gonna do a simple round. Gonna cut out a simple round cookie dough, and you want to take the palm of your hand and you want to press down evenly. And I always turn it a little bit.
And again, this dough is really, really forgiving. So after you cut the shapes out, those edges and those scraps, you can color that and turn it into the marble cookie dough.
And there we have a perfect circle.
And then he's got a fluted edge one.
Gonna do. We're not gonna twist this one because we want to keep the flute shape. So we're just gonna press it. This one is a little tough because, and so you just maybe want to use a towel.
And see, again, it's on this paper, so it was easily moved from the sheet pan to the counter. The cookies come off. You're not like digging them off of your counter because the dough is stuck to your counter. And so we're just moving it from the paper around to the cookie sheet.
And this, I guess, I don't know, what would you call this shape?
Look, it's fancy.
Looks like a message board to me, so maybe we'll write something on this cookie after this day.
I think that's a good idea. That way, if you need to like give your neighbors something and let them know you're thinking about them in this COVID time, and you know we can't really visit with friends and family as much as we would like to, that's a good shape to have. So you can maybe after we ice our cookies, we can write on them and write a little sweet message. We miss you, we love you, we thinking about you.
And speaking of COVID, I think this is a perfect opportunity for the family to get together in the kitchen and do something fun
This is, you know what, Tim? This is something you can do good virtually because it's so simple. I can do it in my house. You can do it at your house. Grand can do it at her house, and we can all do it together.
Exactly, and stay socially distanced and have fun doing it. And stay safe in doing it as well. So I think I got enough dough that I'm going to do another message board.
Okay.
And I might even do another round, Karen. What do you think?
I think that'll be good.
You think we do a flute or just a
I think you can do
round?
one of each.
I believe I can.
Or this is something you can do for like that brother that you love but makes you crazy. And you can be like, let's get on and do cookies with the kids. And he can stay at his house and you can stay at your house. And you can say you had technical difficulties. And be done.
Well, one of the things that is actually happening in my life is that I've got a sister who's coming up on a very big birthday. And I think we're going to do something soon. Of course, she's not going to want to bake cookies, but like
could
you
if you
said,
wanted to.
this is something that we could if we wanted to. But this is the perfect opportunity to use media to do something fun and safe. So, as you can see, we have our cookies. We've got 2 shapes of each. And these go in the oven at 350 for about, what, 15 minutes?
Yeah, about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the thing about these cookies too is that you can put a whole lot on the sheet and they don't really spread. Because they're short, they're not gonna spread. And because we use the powdered sugar instead of granulated sugar, again, they're not gonna spread. They're not gonna touch. I mean, unless you put them in the oven touch them, they're not gonna touch. They're not really gonna change shape. They're pretty much gonna stay that shape. So pop them in the oven, 350, 15 minutes.
And one of the other things we were talking about shape, Christmas ornaments. These,
Whoa,
Yes,
Tim,
these.
if you poke a hole in it before you bake it, and then when it's baked, you can straighten it up, put it on the tree.
yeah,
I didn't even think about that, Tim.
exactly.
Look, we're giving you more than 3 ways today. More than 3.
All right.
So while those are in the oven, again, timing, figuring out the timing of everything that you do.
While Karen is pulling out our multicolored dough that's been resting in the refrigerator, I'm preparing the pan.
So you see it's no longer like squishy, it's pretty firm. And it doesn't have to be completely solid. It just needs to be firm enough to be able to cut a line through it. And so you want to make it square, so you want to cut the edges off.
Once again, we're using parchment paper to line our baking sheet. Now, if you've got like a Teflon pan or a pan that's been coated with a non-stick coating, you don't need the parchment paper. But we're using parchment paper here.
Listen, Tim.
I know, easy cleanup parchment paper.
Tim, I don't have time in my house to be worried about cleaning something up. You can get parchment paper on Amazon. So I get parchment paper. Box of it. So cut the edges
Let's
off.
look at that. Let's look at that dough.
You want to see the inside? See how it's all marbly?
Almost like tie-dye.
It is.
It's pretty cool.
If you want to use more than 2 colors or 3 colors, like it makes it really like fun and funky. And so, again, I just cut it into walls like this. And so you got 2 strips. And then, just like that Pillsbury dough, slice and bake, you want to cut them about 1/4 of an inch. And you get little squares like that.
How cool. You guys see that? Pretty cool, huh?
And look, y'all, if you really want to be fancy, I did something earlier and I didn't tell Tim. I made some checkerboard cookies, Tim.
Checkerboard. Wow.
You don't have to do checkerboard, but like I said, if you feeling extra fancy and you want to experiment, this is just something that I just did. Because I had time. And so we're going to pop these in the oven for about, again, 15 minutes at 350 degrees. And this is a good icebox because we baked off what we wanted. Let's just say you want a little snack. We baked off what we wanted. I'm gonna wrap it right back up. I'm put it in the fridge. So Tim, since you're in the oven, I think it's a good time to pull out the tart shell and take out the rice for the second part of our brown baking.
Got that there.
And I'll just take the foil out, we'll lift it out, and then we'll put it back in for another 15 minutes. So while that's in the oven, again, time and time, Tim, we are going to make the rest of our filling for our tart shell. With this particular shell, you can use pretty much any kind of filling, and it doesn't have to
You have to
be.
bring some, I'm sorry, you have to bring some Nutella.
Nutella and pears do not go together.
Yeah, but it's
You just
hard.
like chocolate. That's it. You just like chocolate. No, Nutella and pears are not good. But you could fill it with Nutella, and you could fill it with like marshmallow fluff. That's what we're going to use today. We're going to use instant pudding. Add milk and stir. That is exactly what we're going to do. Because let me tell you the secret. Don't tell Tim. I don't bake from scratch at home all the time. Like, never. So, we're going to use instant pudding today. Just, we're going to pretend like I made it.
So Karen, I think our cookies should be done
Yes.
and our tart shell should be done.
Both should be done at this point.
So,
We're going to pull the cookies out so that we can let them cool before we decorate them.
right.
And notice how the edges of the cookie is just brown. Just brown. We set those to the
So
side.
we'll put those to the side and let them cool. And our tart shell should be ready as well. So Karen, I heard you mention some pudding.
Oh yeah. So I made our instant pudding earlier, so that's just gonna cool just a minute.
Okay, so our tart shell has cooled. So here's the reason why you wanna, we have a false bottom. Basically, just put your hand under it and boom, it comes out. As simple as that. Now we still have the bottom here.
But you can just use the corner of the spatula.
This tart shell is not as fragile as you might think. So you're able to go here, bring your spatula along the edge, and boom, it comes up. Karen,
And we're gonna use this as our serving tray. You can put it on anything, a nice plate, a nice platter. So now that our tart shell is out, Tim is gonna fill that with the instant pudding. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and slice our pears. Earlier, I did poach some in the red wine so that we would have a contrast of color.
Karen, I can already taste this now. This is gonna be so good.
And while he's doing that, I just want to show you guys the inside of this pear. So the outside has the coloring of the red wine, but the inside stays really white. And that's just going to provide some color contrast. And I'm just going to slice this. And the slices are about, I would say, 1/4 of an inch. I feel like 1/4 of an inch is like the magic measurement. Everything's 1/4 of an inch.
So Karen, I think we have our tart shell.
And I am almost finished slicing these pears.
And the color of those pears against this pudding is going to be absolutely festive.
So I'm gonna bring the pears over to you. And we're gonna alternate the pink and the white. Once I get this pattern done, because it is a fall themed tart, I've got some dried cranberries here. And I'm just gonna garnish the middle with a few dried cranberries.
Oh, Karen, wow.
Isn't that cute?
Wow, that is cute. Oh my God, Karen, we got cookies in the oven.
Let me tell you again how forgiving this cookie dough is, because you see how long that took us? Boom, cookies done, not burnt. They're just a little bit brown around the edges and they're perfect. So when I tell you this dough is forgiving, it is forgiving. So I think our cookies are cool enough to go ahead and decorate now, Tim. So
I think so.
yeah. You can, so I made some royal icing today, which is powdered sugar and egg whites, but you can purchase cookie decorating icing in the grocery store, at Walmart, at Target. It's in the cake,
Yeah, in the cake.
like box cake mix aisle.
What Karen is doing right now is just typing out the
Very
outline
messy outline.
with royal icing.
I am using the number 3 Wilton tip.
And royal icing, what happens with royal icing is that it sets up and it's almost like, the term, what do you mean, it gets hard.
It's rock hard.
Yes, and it's firm.
And so I just outlined the outside of these cookies. And we have got two different, see that? We've got two different weights of royal icing. One is really thin and one is really stiff. Almost all the way up. And Tim is gonna spread those just to the outside of the border, just to kind of fill in the space. If you put too much in, they'll run over. It's at this point that you can add sprinkles. While it's still wet, you can add sprinkles, which we're gonna do.
Well, Tim needs to get his glasses on because Tim can't see at this point.
Tim, if it makes you feel better, I just happen to leave my glasses at home.
Now, if you want to add some sprinkles, Karen, you may.
I do.
While the icing is still soft before it gets hard.
And we're gonna leave that one as it is so we can write a message on it, and it takes a couple hours for it to set up. So once you ice the cookie, you need to let it sit in a cool, dry space for at least 2 hours so that the royal icing sets. You see how mine spilled over because I put too much icing in it? Guess what? It's okay. Because you can wipe it off. Not with like a wet towel, but you see how it spilled over?
No, she's not gonna lick it either. Oh, are you, Karen? Are you gonna lick that?
I will. No. You can just take your finger and wipe it off, and it's just fine. Tim, how long have we known each other? How long have we been working here at HPU?
Well, Karen, I have been, first of all, how long have you been working here? I came here in the fall of 2012.
In the fall of 2012, and I started in the fall of 2013. So we both have been here for quite some time. We have seen the campus grow. We have seen buildings sprout up. We have seen our freshman class here get bigger and bigger every year. And the growth on this campus has been amazing.
Well, not only that, Karen, but you know, I've been in positions where I have seen freshmen turn into seniors. Because
Isn't that wild? You see them come here like basically kids
and lead as adults, future leaders. Talk about extraordinary, that's extraordinary. We have fun here. We have to have fun on our campus because we feed, oh my gosh, I don't know how many meals to kids a day. And we gotta have fun.
Well, of course, you know, we love what we do.
Royal icing to set up, it's almost like a blank canvas.
When we were talking about it being a message board earlier, you can just write a little message. If you want to put something in your kid's lunchbox or your husband's lunch for work with a nice little note, this is a good sweet. You get it? Sweet, Tim?
I did. What also I think we could do is two things. This almost also could be a tag for a Christmas gift. And you say, well, Tim, how can that be? What I'm holding in my hand here is edible pins that are put out by Wilton, the cake decorating company. And you can write someone's name, put it in a little piece of saran bag, tie it with some ribbon. It could be hung on a gift. And not only do they have a gift, but they also have an edible gift as well. So, Karen, I think I'm gonna write, I don't know what I wanna write. What do you think I should write?
I think you should write with love.
Well,
I think that would be sweet.
my goodness, I've already pressed on it. But I'm gonna write with the edible ink or edible, is this ink or edible marker?
It's made with food, it's basically food coloring, and they figure out a way to get it in a pen. That's it, it's just says thank you.
We thank you guys. This has been absolutely fun. I think we're gonna, but we need Brenda to come and taste and make sure that this
Make sure we did a good job.
is good to eat. I know it is, but
One, you have the kitchen
See.
smelling incredible.
you see how, this guy eats everything inside.
Yeah, clearly. You have the kitchen smelling incredible for one. I'm sure any students that are left over in this residence hall are probably drooling at trying to figure out where that smell is coming from. But beautiful work, guys. And this is, why it's so awesome to work with the two of you. The inspiration I get from working with both of you, based off of how passionate you are about doing your jobs and creating art when it comes to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis for our guests and students on campus. So this speaks volumes. Not only was it a somewhat easier recipe to pull off, but what you can pull off with it that looks just absolutely incredible. Is the proof is in what we're seeing in front of us here. So I don't know where to dig in. I'm grabbing these cookies.
There you go.
Did y'all hear that crunch?
Nice and crumbly, delicious. You guys are on it.
Great, good, thank you.
This is awesome. Great recipe. Excellent instructors here. I didn't need to be here. Jeremy didn't need to be here. I think we're going to turn over the cooking collaborative to these two.
Oh my goodness.
But excellent work. Other than that, you guys got anything to finish up with?
All I wanted to say, Karen, this has been a pleasure. I've had fun.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I have always opened myself up to is learning something new. So hopefully I've given you something, because I have definitely learned a little something about you and from you today. Thank you.
I'm speechless.
No, she's not, folks. But anyway, thank you so much. We've enjoyed it. HPU Dine, I think, is where you'll find us. Am I right? Yeah, HPU Dine. So please, if you're already not subscribed, subscribe to it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Have a great day.